It's Mark and Pete.
Hello and welcome to the show. More colourful conversations with Mark and Pete. Now, this is the show dedicated to religion, politics, and business. Well, each week we debate an important topic, but this time we're going to debate 2016, the year that shocked us. Well, it has been quite a remarkable year. Events in politics, business, entertainment, and many others, which we'll cover on the show, has clearly rocked society. Well, if we take the recent events, of course, the outcome now that Donald Trump, yes, Donald Trump is President of the United States. Yes, you have not landed on another planet, I can assure you, and you are not in dreamland. He might be, but the fact is that he may not see it as a shock at all. But to us, we certainly think that it's quite surprising. Well, is it? Because if you look back through history, you will see that there have been many other surprises throughout the year. Now, with me today is Clergyman Pete.
Oh, yes.
Shocking as it may seem, Clergyman Pete, there have been many events that have rocked us this year. But what stands out for you as being a remarkable event in this quite dramatic period in our lives?
Well, businessman Mark, I think that there were many shocks throughout the year, but perhaps the one that rocked us to the core was when Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt filed for divorce. I mean, that's possibly
shocking.
Well, possibly it just shocked me to the core. I have to say that that's not true. I didn't even know they were married when it was announced, so I wasn't too shocked by it. But no, there were so many. I mean, you said in your little intro there that there were various spheres where shocks happen. There's one in, I suppose, celebrity gossip shock. How about in literature? Bob Dylan is the Nobel Prize winner for literature. Yeah,
yes.
That's got to be literally the most shocking thing about literature that I've ever heard. Bob Dylan, literature. They don't even go together. So, people argue that he's a good songwriter, but that's not to say that that it's great literature, is it? Anyway, whatever the arguments for and against, it was shocking that it happened. In fact, he seemed shocked. He didn't even speak about it for weeks.
As we very well know, that he didn't actually respond to it for several weeks.
Yeah.
And I think he himself was probably reeling from the shock, and that's probably why
he probably thought it was a joke.
Probably found prostrate on his own living room floor,
it was probably
wondering how on earth it happened.
His manager following him down. No, I'm telling you, you did win it. Get off with that. A practical joke.
Well, exactly. Maybe he could write a song about it. That would be quite surprising.
Yes.
But you're right. I mean, it's quite extraordinary, the decisions that have been made this year. But let's tackle the first one, of course. Donald Trump, if you think back to some of the earlier shows that we did at the beginning of this year, remarkably, we did actually predict, albeit a little bit tongue-in-cheek, that Donald Trump would actually win. But in many respects, we perhaps should have been a little bit wiser, because there was an undercurrent. There was a feeling of perhaps a sort of disgruntled community, particularly in America, that politics really needed to change. People weren't really happy with the way things were going. And if you look at the Obama regime, with all the issues over Obamacare, the economy, perhaps even on the international scale, where we still have warfare, and things have got actually probably worse. Maybe what we're seeing is that Donald Trump is just a reflection of what people are really feeling. What do you think?
Yes. Well, my take on it is that there is a connection between the British vote to leave the European Union and the vote for Donald Trump. There is a connection in that it's a rejection of what we might call the corporate elite. You've got a collection of businessmen, collection of politicians, all together. They're all relatively wealthy. They're controlling things. The politicians are paid off. The businessmen need the politicians to give them a competitive edge, rather than actually competing in a capitalist system, they go for the corporatist model, which is why I call them that. And that's sort of that control, which has the patina of being liberal or left-wing and socialistic, that controlling group which spans across the globe, often called the globalists, have had a bit of a kick in the teeth from Britain leaving the EU,
Yes.
and from Trump taking over, was, I suppose, part of the donor class to politicians, was part of that elite, stepped outside of it, decided he was going to mess it all up. Now, this has been a year then with those two big upsets, those two events which were based on votes, democratic votes, which went against what the polling was saying. Those two big events are connected in that way, I believe, that it's a rejection of this elite. This it's difficult to define, but they're most definitely there and most definitely controlling things and most definitely seriously annoying. And annoying in the way they try and control things socially, and are very successful in doing it through their control of the media. In Britain, we think about the BBC, known as the biased broadcasting company, and the CNN over in America, the Clinton network, the Clinton News Network. They'll change the name now, but this whole control of society, with political correctness taking over, it's all part of that same thing. Controlling, money being controlled in the hands of the few, more power going to big government. And it's been a good kick in the teeth for these people, where they have a good laugh at the fact that Hillary Clinton lost and that David Cameron had to resign and we're leaving the EU. That's good news. Well, and very funny.
I think that yes. Well, thank you for your political rhetoric there. I must admit that there are a different opinions sometimes, but
different opinions are available, but wrong.
Yes, they are available, but not necessarily on this show.
Yes.
However, but I do agree with the fact that take somebody like David Cameron, and yes, we wish somebody would, and they did. But the fact of the matter is, yes. I think that, in my opinion, the situation around David Cameron actually epitomizes what's happened this year, the year of shocks. And the reason I say that is I think that he exemplified all that was wrong in politics. His decision-making was appalling, whether it be about domestic policies. His decision to go for a referendum at this particular moment, and particularly the platform in which he was sort of articulating the reasons to stay within the European Union were quite flawed. And I think it was quite evident by the result that more and more people sort of questioned really the conventional way of thinking. He was a man who actually did win last year the general election. You'd think that would be a great opportunity to pave the way to do much greater things. But in actual fact, it was just a whole series of poor decisions. And really, I think the fact that, surprisingly, we now have Theresa May as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. How that unfolds in times to come, we shall see. But again, nobody would ever have predicted that she would be the Premier of this of the United Kingdom. And I think that similarly, again, with Donald Trump coming into to leadership, is going to be an interesting sort of relationship, particularly as we sort of head towards 2017. So I'm wondering, really, where maybe this idea of the new wave of politician coming in is actually going to be seen elsewhere. France, Marine Le Pen. Yeah. I mean, is she actually going to win the French election next year?
Could be.
Also, we have other ones coming up. Germany. Will Angela Merkel survive? Those sort of things. Are we really now seeing that perhaps things aren't going to be such a shock after all?
Yeah. Yes. Well, I think the biggest shock may be, just from my reading, I don't know that this is going to happen, but it just seems to me that if you take the two main people we mentioned, Trump and Theresa May, the leaders of America to come and Britain right now, it looks like, against what you would have thought, against the conventional wisdom, but against what most people would have thought, they're looking like they're going to be pretty good. What,
Yes, who would have ever believed that?
well, I mean, that's just ridiculous. What do we got? We want to have a laugh at them, don't we? But no, they do seem to be. It just seemed that Trump is shaping up to put together a pretty credible group of people to lead the country in his cabinet, and Theresa May has been making some good decisions and staying on ball with the Brexit decision and getting that up to speed so that we can actually start the process to leave in the beginning of next year. So it looks like not only has there been an upset, not only are there people in charge that you just wouldn't expect, and the people who are there, it's shocking that they are there, but even more shocking, it looks like they're going to do a good job of it.
Yes.
Who'd have
Although
thought?
I would like to put a little caveat there that I'm still anticipating that Donald Trump will come out with even more shocking and surprising thoughts and possibly actions. So more to come, I guess, on that front.
Maybe.
But the surprises, of course, haven't just been in politics. Of course, we've seen in sport. So let's take it on two fronts. I do believe that in the United States, the Cubs won the World Series. How did that happen?
Yeah. Well, yes, how did that happen? Because they haven't won it for a long time. I don't know how long it is, 50 years, 52 years?
That's a long time.
Certainly a long time. But I think at the start of the series, they were the favourites to win. But still, it's a surprise because it actually happened this year.
Yeah.
And in the much maligned little game of soccer over here, I think there was a bit of an upset, wasn't there?
There was indeed. Leicester City, yes, I'm going to repeat it again. Leicester City won the Premier title.
Yes.
Now, I think I can only but describe that, that this is a club that has never won this particular title. In fact, certainly the elite title in the history of soccer. So put it in context here. Although they have won a couple of minor competitions in the past, some cup competitions, but they've never won the league in this way. And you could argue that yet again there's an analogy here, because like on the political landscape where the conventional really tripped themselves up, in the same way this happened also in the soccer world. A lot of the big teams like Chelsea and Manchester United and many others certainly got themselves into a right pickle. They lost their managers, there was arguments, infighting, and I think this is the other thing. They're quite complacent. If you actually look at their play, Leicester City just simply went out there and did not fear the opponents. They galvanized together as a team. They worked very well as a team. Good individual players, wouldn't say necessarily world class, but as a club, they actually did very well together. And of course, they were consistent and they just kept winning week after week until eventually
I suppose
no one gets them.
I mean, that goes in with this sort of style of this year, that not only do unexpected people or clubs win, but also they do it well. They played well in order to win. I don't know enough about how the Cubs play, but as they were the favourites at the start, I guess that they did play well. And in the actual final, I think they came from behind. So obviously they did actually play well, just like in the politics I was talking about. It seems like not only do we have unexpected people doing well, but shockingly, shock of shocks, they actually do it and they deserve it. They deserve the success that they have. What's going to happen next?
Exactly. So let me just sort of come to a conclusion here. I'm just going to read a little poem, and we'll sort of hand that over for Clergyman Pete and his thoughts from a religious point of view.
But I may even give you a Bible verse.
So here's a little poem which is called Surprises. The world is full of great surprises that come in all shapes and sizes. Just as the economy falls, then it rises. The consumer is broke and economizes. When raging war unfolds and military mobilizes, politicians battle, and finally peace crystallizes. The philosopher dreams and hypothesizes as the skeptic doubts and criticizes. The older generation traditionalizes, then the next generation modernizes. The big bag bully beats and brutalizes, yet the victim cowers and agonizes. Though evil preys and terrorizes, faith forgives and galvanizes. cunning crime comes in all disguises that the vulnerable never recognizes. If forced to live with compromises, nobody ever apologizes. And so, as this poem summarizes, life on reflection is quite predictable, really.
Yes.
So when you think about it,
Yes, as
maybe...
a surprising end there, I think we might say.
Exactly. When you think about what we've been talking about, maybe we shouldn't have been so surprised about what happened in 2016. Was it a year that shocked us? I guess on initial impressions, yes, we were quite surprised. But when we think about it, we analyse the whole context of the situation we find ourselves in, the world that we live in today. Maybe we shouldn't be so surprised. So I'd ask you, clergyman Pete, is there a sort of a sort of theme we can bring to conclusion here from a religious point of view?
Well, this is what I'm taking from this. Christians are encouraged to pray for their leaders and to pray for those who are in high positions, but we don't know how they've got there. They might have got there by underhand means. They may be surprising people. And Daniel 2:21 says this. It says, "He," referring to God, "He changes times and seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding." So you can have someone come into position of power, and God wants things to be done well. We pray for them, and God gives them wisdom. He even, I would say, can give wisdom to Donald Trump. God is able to bring good out of bad, and I thought Donald Trump was totally unsuited to be president, but already, as he's in the position of being president-elect, he seems to be changing and becoming more wise. Maybe it's time to have a bit of humility. Maybe even Pete of Mark and Pete needs a bit of humility and to see that God knows what he's doing, and who sometimes the people who are in power are the people you least expect, and yet God gives them the wisdom that they need in order to run things properly. Well, we'll see whether that actually happens. But whether or not it does with Donald Trump and Theresa May, God is in charge, and he is the one who's the King of Kings. So you might even say the President of Presidents.
Whoa. Well, just the very idea of clergyman Pete with a bit of humility. Now, that is shocking.
Yes, another shock. You heard it here first.
So, listeners, what do you think? Have you been surprised by the events of 2016? Perhaps there may be more to come, but we'll see. Well, we'll certainly cover them and capture them in the colourful conversation world of Mark and Pete. Join us next time. A little bit.